Lesson 4 in math is compare to solve problems. This is very, very similar to lesson 3. However, if you remember in yesterday's video, I talked a lot about you need to make sure that the question is asking you to multiply. And so this lesson, we definitely have to make sure of that because some questions are not going to ask us to multiply, and we need to make sure that we can distinguish between the two. So today you do not have to take notes in your math notebook, but you will be taking some notes and writing down some examples in your math book. So please take out your math book and turn to page 153 so that you can follow along with me. The only reason I have my math notebook out is because it's easier for me to write on paper than it is for me to draw with the little pen gizmo on here. So I'm going to be writing things in my notebook so that you can see what I'm doing, while you guys can just write straight in your book, and then you'll just take a picture of, you'll take a picture of page 155 once we get there, and the work that you did with me through this video. So the first thing that we need to look at is kind of the intro to the lesson here, which is saying additive comparisons use addition or subtraction. So these phrases mean we're going to add or subtract. Multiplicative, that's a fun word to say. Everyone say multiplicative. Multiplicative comparisons use multiplication or division to compare. So how many times more, how many times greater means that we're going to multiply or divide. And so we have to be able to distinguish between the two. A lot of times, and you can see this here, how many more is in this phrase, but the word that changes is times. How many more? How many times more? So we have to think about that and know that times means to multiply, so that should be a really big hint for us. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and turn the page because our biggest struggle in this lesson is we have to be able to write equations and we have to be able to use variables. A lot of us are just going to want to solve the question right off the bat because we're going to be able to visualize what's happening. But what we need to start practicing in math is writing out equations so that we can show others what our brain is thinking. So that's a big part of math, is to be able to show others our thought process, our math brains, and how they're working. So what we're going to do is kind of work through this page. So I'm going to try to drag this guy over here. And I'm going to start with number 2. So the directions say write an equation to find the unknown number. Use a symbol for the unknown. So another word for symbol is, anybody? Variable. So we need to think about variables whenever we're doing this, and we need to write equations. Remember, equations have to have an equal sign. Equation looks like the word equal, so that helps us to remember that. So number 2, Paul drew 4 times as many pictures as Dennis. Paul drew 16 pictures. How many pictures did Dennis draw? So when I think about this problem, I would circle the number 4, and I would circle the number 16. Okay, for the cube strategy, then I would underline the question, how many pictures did Dennis draw? Now I need to box keywords. My keywords are times as many. So that means I'm going to either multiply or divide. So I'll have to figure that out. Then, let's see, now, so I circled my numbers, I underlined my question. Now I have to box keywords, which I just did. And so I'm at E. So E means to evaluate. So now I need to kind of write out my equation to evaluate what I've been told here. So I'm going to write it in my notebook. You guys can write it straight in your book. But it says Paul drew 4 times as many pictures as Dennis. Okay? And so what we're saying here is 4 times as many as Dennis. So I could put 4 times Dennis. So I could use the letter D to represent Dennis. 4 times Dennis equals 16 because Paul drew 16 pictures. Okay? Another way that I could write this problem, if you're thinking, well, I know the total, and I could take away So what the other way that you could write this is 16 divided by 4 equals D. To be able to kind of work backwards and to see, well, how many did Dennis draw? Both ways allow us to think about fact families. It allows us to think about what would we multiply by, or what is the answer to this division problem. So however your brain wants to think about this, that's totally fine, but either one of these equations would work, and then we just need to solve for D. D is the same in both. So D is equal to, well, I know 4 times 4 equals 16, so D would be equal to 4. And then we would need to label this. We're talking about pictures here. So either you would write this whole thing down, or you would write the division sentence and then what D equals. All right, let's look at number 3. We have Maria, and she made 21 cupcakes. This is 3 times as many as the number of cupcakes that Mary made. How many cupcakes did Mary make? So let's go ahead and use our cube strategy. We need to circle our numbers, and sometimes numbers are written as words. So do you see any words that is actually a number? Because there is in this one. So Maria made 21 cupcakes. This is 3. Oh, there it is, 3. So 21 and 3 are the numbers that we're circling. We need to underline our question. How many cupcakes did Mary make? Man, we got Mary and Maria. They couldn't have gotten any closer, could they? All right, so we did C, U. It's time for B, box or keywords. Do you see any keywords? I hope you're seeing times as many, so make sure you box times as many. It's right here. And then now we need to evaluate. So now we need to write out our equation. So Maria made 21 cupcakes. This is 3 times as many as the number of cupcakes that Mary made. Okay. What's really cool about math is it's kind of a code language. So we can take words and we can actually turn them into math symbols. You want to see me work some magic? What's really cool about this problem is it says Maria made 21 cupcakes. This is. The word is in math means equals. They're interchangeable. So what I can say is 21 equals 3 times Mary. Let's write it down. 21 equals 3 times Mary. It doesn't matter which side your problem is on. Sometimes you can have your answer on the left. I know that that's kind of odd for some of you, but it's good to see it written multiple ways so that you're not thrown off when you do see it that way, maybe on a test or something. So 21 equals 3 times Mary. So we need to figure out, well, how many cupcakes did Mary make? Because that's our question. So 3 times what equals 21? Well, I can think about my 3 song and count on my fingers. Oh, where is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. How many numbers did I say? I said 7. So we're going to put M equals 7 cupcakes. Making me hungry. Okay, now we're using the word variable. I guess we could have used symbols, but sometimes it's fun. So for this one, maybe you would draw a cupcake, or for the first one, maybe you could have drawn a picture, but that takes a little bit more time. So let's move on to number 4. Number 4, we're still writing equations using variables for our unknowns. So it says Wendy has dance class 2 days a week. James has dance class 5 times a week. How many more times a week does James have dance class than Wendy? This one. Whoa, they're trying to be really tricky here. Okay. When I think about the numbers 2 and 5, 2 can't go into 5 equally. 2, 4, 6, right? We skip right over 5. So I'm already thinking to myself, there's no way I can multiply or divide with these numbers unless I'm doing 2 times 5, and it didn't say James had Dance class, 5 times as many. I don't see the word times as many. I see how many more. Let's look back to that previous page. How many more? It's in the additive comparison, so that means I'm going to add or subtract. Ooh, okay, so let's do our cube strategy. Circle 2, circle 5, underline the question. How many more times a week does James have dance class than Wendy? And box keywords. Okay, how many more? We need to box that for sure. Okay, so how many more? So what we want to know is what is the difference between the amount that James has and the amount that Wendy has. So what I can do is I can take James and subtract out Wendy and get the difference. So let's see, dance class, I could put C for class. My goodness, that is a very simple question, and we should all know 5 minus 2 is 3. So I'm going to write C equals 3. Let's see, how many more times a week does James have dance class than Wendy? 3 times more. Now, times in this case just means the times that he's going. It doesn't mean times as in multiply. So we really have to be careful when we're reading these problems. My goodness. Okay, number 5. There are 4 fewer white bunnies than gray bunnies. There are 9 white bunnies. How many gray bunnies are there? I don't even see the word times in there, so we must be adding or subtracting again. So let's circle our numbers. I see the number 4. I see the number 9. Okay, now we need to underline our question. How many gray bunnies are there? Let's see. I see a keyword of fewer. And maybe how many? We could box fewer and box how many. And now we need to evaluate and write our equation so that we can solve. So there's 4 fewer white bunnies than gray bunnies. So we don't know gray bunnies. So gray bunnies, G, is going to be our variable. And there's 4 fewer white bunnies than gray bunnies. So I know that if I take gray bunnies and I take away 4, that I'm going to equal how many white bunnies there are, and we're given that amount. We're given that it's 9. So something, well, that doesn't make sense. Or does it? Think backwards. Something minus 4 is equal to 9. So that means I have to add these numbers up to figure out what my first amount is. So 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 minus 4 is 9. So gray bunnies is equal to 13. Sometimes you just kind of gotta sit there and maybe draw a picture or talk it out. Sometimes just keeping it in our heads doesn't work. Okay, ready for number 6? So it looks like we have a table here. How many more shoes were sold than belts? There's 7 shoes, there's 2 belts, and I can see that there were 5 more shoes than belts. So my answer here would be 5. And I know that right away because it says how many more, and how many more means I need to subtract. So 7 minus 2 is 5. And the word times wasn't used, so I know I'm not using a multiplicative comparison. Which item sold 2 times as many? Multiplying. Which item sold 2 times as many shirts? So let's look at shirts. Is 8. So we need to do 2 times 8. What is 2 times 8? It's 16, so our answer would be pants. Now notice it's asking for the item. So don't write 16 on the line because that's not an item. That's the number sold. Then we have to look at the item, which would be pants. So number 7 is pants. Number 8, which exercises use addition or subtraction? That was 4, 5, and 6. And which use multiplication or division? 2, 3, and 7 use multiplication or division. Okay, so that is today's lesson. Make sure that you really pay attention. Use the cube strategy to help you solve. You are going to be working through questions from your book today. So if you would like to just kind of write it out in your book first, that's totally fine. But make sure that you are answering it online for me instead of just taking a picture from your book. So definitely take a picture of page 155. Of this page that we just filled out together, and then put that in as your notes. But then for the worksheet, please do type out those answers. All right, good luck. We'll see you later, guys. Bye.